Welcome, everyone. This is a very special day. The boss is in the house.
You're a tough interview, though. I hear you're a tough interview.
You're in the hot seat.
I've been researching you a lot lately.
You did what some would deem an interview with a very divisive figure, Andrew Tate.
You would like him. He's very likable.
Men have been feminized for so long now. I fear a robot culture now where people are completely passive until it's too late.
There's only one place they call, that the country's name follows by a dream. There is no Australian dream. It's only the American dream. It's not that easy to go out there and build a business, pay the price, potentially lose your, relationship.
The boss is in the house. I said it. The boss. I don't mean my boss. I mean the boss. Pat, look, oh my gosh, look at that side view. I've never looked smaller in my entire history of being alive. Look at that. Yeah. So now you all know I look tall when some guests are here, but Patrick has just shown me for my true size. So I'm going to give you a little intro. You need no introduction. We all know that to the audience. But I hear you're
a tough interview, though. You're a tough interview.
You're in the hot seat.
I've been researching you a lot lately.
You're in the hot seat, but I'm gonna intro this man who we all know and love so much. Patrick Bet-David, as you know, founder of PHP Agency, founder of Valuetainment, author of the best-selling book, Your Next 5 Moves, which, by the way, I'm reading now. Amazing. I have to be honest with you. Don't understand all the business stuff so well. That's why you're here to explain some of it to me today. Master the Art of Business Strategy. So if you need to know what your next 5 moves are, that's what you need to read, everyone. Host of PBD Podcast, which, by the way, has blown up since your Andrew Tate interview. We're going to talk about that podcast a little bit, too. He's a husband. Most importantly, he's a dad of 4, and he's my business partner. I have the smartest business partner in the world, which is a good thing. You know him, you love him. Today, he's going to be in the hot seat, and we're going to talk about everything. I hope you're ready.
You said questions I've not been asked before. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. I'm going to talk to you, but because everyone knows you as the business guy. You launched this incredible company and people come to you for business advice all the time and financial advice. And I know the first time I came on your show, it was funny when my husband actually had seen that request come in. I was doing a book tour for Dear Hartley and he said, Patrick Bet-David. And I said, why does he want to talk to me about, he's not going to talk to me about numbers, is he? And Jeremy was like, just go and talk to him. It's a really interesting guy. And I came and I did that interview. You and Adam were there. And my phone, when I finished, no joke, Jeremy, said, these are the guys you need to work with. 100%.
Jeremy said that.
These are the guys you need to work with. And I left, of course, you contacted me, you reached out to me, but no matter who approached me in those 4 months, and there were many, he was like, PBD. He was just had a certain feeling about you being on a mission and me being able to fit into that structure in a really beautiful way. So that's just something, I don't know if you knew. But
well, now I know how smart Jeremy is.
There you go.
Smart guy right there.
And Jeremy, he's a quiet.
I do know Jeremy.
He's a quiet intellectual, yes. But he's a fan.
But he's very smart, though. He'll sit there. He's not saying anything. 13 right. minutes will go by. Boom, he drops a question.
And then you're like, oh,
Here
has
we
been
go.
listening
Yeah.
the whole time. I want to start at the beginning with you. I think you have a really interesting background. And I think your background is particularly interesting in light of what we're looking at now in this country in terms of freedoms being trampled on. So your family immigrated to the U.S. when you were 10. Mm-hmm. Do I have that right? Okay, 10 years old. They fled Iran as refugees. What do you remember as a 10-year-old most about that time? Did you understand the why of why your family was fleeing?
Yeah, so we talked about it as a family. My mom didn't want me to serve the military there, so we left at 10. This is July of '89. We went to Germany and lived in a refugee camp for a year and a half, and I came here November 28, 1990 when I'm 12. So when we're leaving, nobody liked the war. It was very uncertain times. It was, you had no clue what was going to happen the next day. But also at the same time, my mom and dad were waiting since '84 to get a green card. And then finally my mom's like, no, we got to get out of here. We can't stay here. So my mom made the decision. My dad said, no problem. You guys go to Germany. I'll meet you guys in the States. We leave in a white Renault to the airport. We get on a Lufthansa airline plane. And we head out. When we cross the border, they said, you cannot take down your scarves, your hijab, and alcohol is now being served. I'll never forget that announcement.
Wow.
Everyone starts clapping,
Did you understand what that meant as a child?
Of course I did, because you're like, what is it? Now and then alcohol started coming and, the guys are bringing the stuff over. So no, we knew, listen, it was a dream. Every time in Iran, somebody would either go to Australia or would go to Spain or Germany or US, there was always a party. Everybody would come together and party that you're leaving. Of course, the biggest dream was coming to the States, coming to U.S., but no, we knew exactly why we were leaving.
So I want to ask you, why the States then? When you say the biggest dream was coming here, why?
There's only one place they call, that the country's name follows by a dream. There is no Australian dream. There is no Spain dream, or French dream, or Russian dream. It's only the American dream. There's only one place that you and I can say the American dream, because I can come here, I can decide to live a big life, I can live a small life, I can be a regular person, I can be famous, I can be rich, I can be poor. I can choose to do anything I want to do here. Of course, if I can not break the law, I have a big upside. But you can be a Christian, you can be a Muslim, you can be a Scientologist, you can be a Seventh-day, you can be an atheist, you can be agnostic, you can be whatever you want to be here. Nobody cares in America. All the other places, they care, not here.
So what do you say to people who feel that the American dream is dying, who feel that it's under attack, whether it's from a business angle, whether it's from a freedom angle, whether it's from what's happening to kids around the country? Some feel that there's a system in place, call it a system, a matrix, that's out to get the little guy, and they feel like the American dream has been compromised, maybe beyond repair. What's your response to that?
I think you're always going to be under attack. I think American dream has been under attack since day one, because anytime you're a threat to anybody, you're going to constantly have attack. Meaning, Walmart's always going to be attacked by Amazon. Amazon's always going to be attacked by Walmart. Starbucks has to be worried about Coffee Bean. Coffee Bean's got to be worried about Starbucks. The best athletes have to be worried about rookies coming and wanting to take their throne, dethrone them. Tom Brady's having a hard time stepping away from the game. I don't think he wants to give it up to the next person. So he's a threat until somebody takes him out. So if America was a sports team, they're number one worldwide, and nobody likes number one. The only people that like number one are the people that are on the number one's team, involved in growing the number one team. Job creators, doers, those who are going out there paying taxes, those who are going out there making the society a better place. They like to see their team as being number one, the best. They're creators. But sometimes those that are part of a team that are not contributing, they're the ones that no one knows their names because they don't want to get up and do the work like some others are doing. They don't want to see that team winning, because it's almost like when somebody, breakup happens, you always want to see the ex fail. People who are not contributing towards America's success don't want to see America succeed, because America's winning without them. It's a form of saying you're not needed. We're going to go with or without you. That's not the most exciting feeling to people who don't contribute. But as far as America being under attack, it's always been under attack, and it's always going to be under attack. That's a very normal place to be when you're number one.
Are there two Americas, though? When you look at this country, you look at a place like New York City, you look at a place like Los Angeles, Chicago. These are the places that many business-minded people, many entrepreneurs, they have fled those places, and they're setting up camp in places like Texas, Florida, Tennessee, a lot of the red states. Are there two Americas where one is preserving the American dream and preserving people's ability to climb those ladders, and one that is crushing the American dream? Is that a reality? And now you have these two very different Americas existing within one country space.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the beautiful thing about the left wing and the right wing, right? You need both of them to balance each other out. And anytime it goes too much one side or the other, then we're off balance, because now we're spinning. If you just keep being too much on the right, you're just going in turns. You're going too much on the left, you're going. So we need to balance each other out, right? And then the more we age, the more we get centered, the more we're like, yeah, I'm conservative in these areas. This is kind of doesn't make sense anymore. The other day we had these two girls on the podcast just last week. And they were the two girls that threw tomato soup against a Van Gogh painting. Yep. And then they glued themselves. And I said, tell me why you're doing this. And then Katie Hopkins asked the question of one of the girls and said, hey, so tell me, who's paying for your college tuition? She's like, it's my scholarship. Yeah, but have you ever paid a bill before? Never have. You don't know what life is all about. You still got to grow. You still got to go through the phases. So in America, if you got the folks on the left who think they have better ideas, well, then prove it. If your ideas are better, then people should be coming to your city. I had a girl on the other day, Persian girl, who called out New York Times. And on the podcast, she says, you just need to know where I'm at politically. I'm for this, I'm for BLM, I'm for LGBT, I'm for pro-choice, I'm for everything. She's like, I'm for. No problem. It's great that you're for all of that stuff, where you're politically or favoring all that stuff. I said, how do we judge a great restaurant? She says, what do you mean if the food is good? I said, no, how do we judge a great restaurant? She said, I don't know. I said, have you ever been to a restaurant where the restaurant is fully empty during lunchtime, and that was a great restaurant? I said, if you go to a restaurant and it's empty during dinner or lunch, what does it tell you? Man, we got to get out of here because we're being fooled, right? But have you ever been to a restaurant that's got a 45-minute wait where food is bad?
No.
And she says, maybe. I said, really? Because now she knows where I'm going with this. Oh,
She's
really?
like,
I said, really? Maybe? I said, tell me. Who? I said, name me one restaurant that's full all the time and tell me the food is bad. Tell me a place. The only people that will call a restaurant that's fully busy and losing are the people that are either competitors or former employees. Those are the only people, right? So bring that to politics. I said, certain channels are always busy, certain are empty. Florida's growing, New York's losing. You know, California is losing people for the first time since 1851. Texas is picking them up.
Yeah.
So why is that happening? California is becoming an emptier restaurant. Texas and Florida is becoming fuller restaurant. Why are people moving to Florida? Because better ideas eventually win. So a person can sit up there and claim that their ideas are better than somebody else. At the end of the day, results are going to validate your ideas are good or your ideas are bad. And right now, ideas of New York, Illinois, California are bad ideas.
So what do you say to people? I'm sure you've heard this conversation about a national divorce. Some people say the differences are just too different between what the right wants, what the left wants. And I was somebody who always shunned that idea. I was always inclined to say, no, it's good that the United States is diverse. Let the best ideas win. Let people move to places where those ideas can flourish. You know, I'm a big 10th Amendment advocate, all of this stuff. However, we're now at a point where the hard left is so bonkers, in my view, that I don't want their toxicity corrupting my place. I don't want my child exposed to that. I don't want, you know, the massive indoctrination when it comes to gender ideology. I don't want all of mandatory COVID vaccines for kids. I don't want for anyone, for that matter. So there's a lot that's going on where I look and I say, I really understand how we're essentially two different Americas, and maybe it's best to kind of be two different Americas then. Can we really coexist in one place? And will that toxic stuff otherwise bleed into the rest of the country and then take over? Is that a possibility? So do you understand the mindset behind a national divorce? A peaceful national divorce?
I don't think it's going to work because, listen, a lot of people have breakups and then they kiss and make up and, hey, I miss you. You know, what do you miss about me? Yeah, I miss you, we're like this, or miss you. At first, a lot of times, a woman or a guy will break up with somebody, and then a year later, 2 years later, they're like, I screwed up. That was a good guy I was with. I just thought I wanted somebody like this. Now you miss him. So, you know, when it comes down to, let's just say if I was to start a country together, you and I are starting country together, and it's a brand spanking new country. People are thinking about choosing what country to go to. They don't have a lot of options, let's just say. If a mother wants to move to her kids to a country, what is the first thing a mother wants? First thing, it's an S-letter word. Safety, security, right? And we say, she's going to ask the question, she's interviewing the country, so what does your country offer? Oh, you know, we're going to give you great benefits. What do you mean? We're going to give you Social Security. What else are you going to give me? We're going to give you health insurance. I don't care about that stuff. Are my kids safe? Am I safe? So define safe. What is safe? Are there cops? Are there laws? Is there a military? Am I protected? Are there borders? Yes. Then I'm coming to your country. That's the first thing I'm going to ask. The second thing is going to be economy. So tell me how the economy is. Can I do anything I want? What are the regulations? How big can I build my business? Can I pursue my dreams? I'm a Hollywood person. I'm creative. I want to do art. Can I create art? Go for it. I'm a business person. I want to do business. Go for it. I'm a doctor. We need you. I'm a dentist. Come on down. I know how to sew. Come on down. I know how to make shoes. Come on. I'm a painter. We need you. I'm construction. Come on down, right? But the first thing we're going to ask is security. The second thing we're going to ask is opportunity, upside, right? Okay. So if a state doesn't value protecting the safety of people's kids, protection with cops, with military, with laws, if you don't do that, a mother is going to persuade the father to leave to take their kids somewhere where they're going to be safe. My mom is the reason we left Iran because she did not feel safe for her kids to be there, right? So as much as we do this divorce, eventually people are going to sit, like yesterday, last week I had a guy in my office who's part of the LGBTQ community, and he was the agent of one of the guests that I had. I said, so how you doing? He says, good. I said, where are you from? Originally from LA. Where do you live now? Oh, I live in Florida. I said, wait, you live in Florida? Yeah. Politically, which side are you on? Oh, I'm on the left. Why'd you move to Florida? I could no longer deal with the COVID restrictions in California. I said, did you bring your politics with you as well to
Right.
Florida? So, but because
not.
naturally,
Right.
we naturally want security, opportunity, being left alone. And laws that don't give me security, don't give me opportunity, and want to force me to do something, we run away from that. It doesn't matter what it is.
The problem with that is oftentimes the female voter. You know, you talk about these suburban moms that couldn't stand Donald Trump. They're very emotional voters oftentimes. So they don't like his Twitter feed. They don't like his delivery. They focus on things that media upplays then. Oh, Donald Trump's a bad man. He's not nice. He's not kind. He's not this or that. And for some reason, that winds up taking priority over those safety issues, over those crime issues. So my concern is, are we now emotionally manipulated by media, allowing that to be the case, in large part, by the way, women. Female voters are consistently a problem. It's just a fact. They will consistently vote Democrat, even though those issues don't serve them well, because they've been emotionally manipulated by media to believe that Republicans are just bad people. They're not nice. You wouldn't want to have a beer with them. Ridiculous nonsense. So I look at the next election and I say, is this going to happen again? Are female voters now, these suburban moms, going to step up and vote based on issues and vote a Ron DeSantis in or a Trump, someone like that in? Or are they going to now be told that Ron DeSantis is a bad man and they're going to buy the story and we're all going to be up Schitt's Creek? What do you say to that?
So here's the other problem that we have, and this is more on the Republican side. The problem, the independents and Republicans have this challenge. They want to change. They think they have to change everyone's mind for their policies to advance. You don't need everybody. So forget about the 47%, the 46%, and the 44%. 44% is going to vote Republican no matter what. 46% is going to vote Democrat no matter what. Let's set those two aside, right? So that leaves us with give or take 10% that we're dealing with, okay? 10 or 12% we're dealing with. That 10 or 12% runs America. The 10 or 12% that says, you know what, I can't vote for Biden anymore. I just can't. I'm going to vote for DeSantis. I can't vote for Trump. I'm going to vote for Biden. It's that 10, 12% that runs America. It's not the 44, it's not the 46, it's the 10 to 12. So the more the 10 or 12 says, I'm sick of it, and I'm like, for example, Joe Rogan is not part of 46 or 44.
Right.
Elon Musk is not part of 46 or 44. They were in the 10 or 12, and they went to 44. 44 is what? Republicans.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people on the middle now. You mean Joe Rogan brings in Aaron Rodgers on his podcast and says, Aaron Rodgers says, what's the solution? He says, vote Republican. Aaron Rodgers starts laughing, meaning the first initial reaction of Aaron Rodgers is to laugh. If he wasn't in agreement, he would have said, what?
Right.
Because he's against it. But if Aaron Rodgers laughed, what is he saying? He's going to vote Republican. So Musk says vote Republican. Rogan says vote Republican. Musk's got 100 million followers on Twitter, give or take. Rogan's got God knows how many followers he's got. You can't lose those people. So sometimes we think, like they asked Castro, if you had to do the movement all over again, how many thousands of people would you have needed to be on your side to make your revolution a reality again? He says, one true believer. That's all I need. You don't need everybody. Yeah. So if you have, Elon Musk is a true believer. You lose him, you lose tens of millions of votes potentially. You lose Rogan, you got to listen to that guy 3-4 times a week. So I know a lot. Like for example, I run a sales organization, right? And many times in sales organization, you sit there and you're thinking, I got to convince everybody to sell this product, and I got to convince everybody to do it. I got to convince 100% of my sales force. You need one person that buys in, who's got influence, and people follow him. That's all you got to do. Yeah. So if you ever want to move a sales organization, find out who's got the most influence, convince him or her what product to sell. If she or he sells it, other people are going to follow. So that person today is Musk. That person today is Rogan, and they're flipping. That's a scary side on the other side. That's not a good thing. So
no, it's not. There's going to be more like that.
There's going to be more like, and by the way, there's been more like that we just don't know about.
I'm still worried about the suburban moms, and I too many were lost based on emotion. And I think that DeSantis
You think that's going
is
away,
being
though?
I don't because
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen with DeSantis is the media is going to use the same playbook they did with Trump. DeSantis has been vilified as some sort of devil, and it's really just going to depend on, do these moms prioritize issues that really relate to their kids? Do they prioritize safety? Do they prioritize freedom? Do they prioritize, living in a place that's not, increasingly crime infested? Do they care about these things more than they care about their own emotional reaction to a political candidate? Because they will get that same emotional reaction to DeSantis that they got to Trump. The media will guarantee it. So it's just a question, are they strong enough and strong-willed enough to say, maybe personally, I wouldn't want to sit and have dinner with him, but who cares? Who cares? I need someone who's going to efficiently get this country back on track. I think that is what remains to be seen. I want to ask you about the military, though. You served in the military. You served in the 101st Airborne. Very cool stuff. That's why you laugh at me when I'm like, is there fragrance in here? It's bothering me. You guys don't even know the conversations we had.
Fragrance. It was a different fragrance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But, I look at the military, and there's so many concerning components of that to me. Are you worried about a military now that's not only woke, they're sitting and watching woke videos. It looks like cartoons, child's cartoons. They're not prepared for the next big fight. And you have many people in this country and outside this country that are fully encouraging a World War III. I'm certainly not one of them. Are you concerned about an unprepared military? And do you feel like the military is some sort of agent of the state? Meaning, are they just a voice for, big pharma now? Are they just a voice for the system, as opposed to really doing their job, which is to train people to be on the front lines of combat, end of story, to win if we need them out there to win? Are they too woke and too centralized?
That is a different, that is an area I'm very concerned with, because I think when it comes down to the military side, because it's so organized and they're reporting from top down on what to do, and it's all about, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, don't question, just do as you're told. It's such a do as you're told and don't question, which is problematic. Because in a corporate environment, when you're sitting in a boardroom, I'm the chairman of the board, right? When I'm in a boardroom, not everybody agrees with me. Nobody sits there and says, yeah, what about this though? What if we do this? How about that? I think we should try this out. No, I don't think that's a good product. I don't want to do this. How about if we did this part? In business, it's debate, right? Even in politics is debate. But in military, you're taught to, yes, sir, no, sir. So like I'm sitting there talking to a couple of these military guys saying, you guys should have known this Afghanistan idea wasn't a good idea. Why did you still do it? Because we can't do anything. What do you mean you can't do anything? Do you mean to tell me you're sitting there knowing you're on the field, you're there, you see this stuff every day, you still said yes to the order coming down from McKinsey or whoever it was, yes. Why didn't McKinsey question anything? He just didn't have the backbone to question anything. So that part is a little bit worrisome to me, the fact that it's too much of an environment of just, you got to do what you got to do. Now, on the flip side of it, anytime you push things down people's throat, they're going to push back in their own way. One of the ways they're going to push back is there was a whole group of people that went and did what they did with Afghanistan, and they're civilians, former military guys. And they went and did it on their own. So like, no, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to go out there and do it on our own. So I think you're going to see more of that happening, where people are coming out who love America, who are not for this woke stuff, and they're going to keep recruiting each other, and they're going to find each other, and that's going to be a military that you and I maybe don't know as an organized military, but they're just as good as everybody else, and maybe even better in many instances, to go out there and fight for the country, but you will never know their names.
Yeah, I mean, the military guys who stood up and said, hey, I'm sorry, but you can discharge me if you want, but I'm not getting this experimental vaccine. Those are the guys I want. Those are the guys that I want on the front lines, because they're people who are still free-thinking people. They're still using their minds. They're still making decisions that are best for themselves and their family. They haven't forgotten how to think. And that whole structure of, yes, sir, I get it. I understand. I went to actually a grade school very much like that. So I understand the value of discipline. I get it. But at some point, when the apparatus above you is making decisions that are incredibly concerning, I don't need military members to just be a puppet of that. I still need them to be free-thinking people who can make good decisions without being puppeteered. That's my concern.
I'm with you. I remember when I was in the Army, and anthrax was a thing where everybody was taking this vaccine, and they came up, well, you got to take it, or else this, or else that, or else this. And our sergeant, first sergeant came out and said, listen, guys, you want to take it? take it. You don't want to take it, I'm not going to make you take it. But it's up to you.
Different time.
Different time. That was 98. Today, 24 years later, it's a complete different story that we have. So again, my concern is people are so worried about, like this Stuart Scheller guy that got fired, resigned, but he was pretty much going to be kicked out of the military, doesn't get his pension after 17 years just because he got up and he said, show us some accountability. Why did we leave Afghanistan, right? He's one of the guys that spoke up. He was a 05, he was a lieutenant colonel who spoke up. 17 years he gave his life to the military. Right afterward, his wife left him, divorced, lost all the retirement, nearly $2.5 million of pension that he loses. And today, he was on a podcast 2 weeks ago. He said, I don't know what to do next. I'm a little bit lost. When he was in the room, you felt the guy's a little bit lost. So people like that who question and push back, they're very important to the country. But it just tells you any organization where there's not discourse and debate, where there's, sitting there saying, I don't know if we should do this. Why shouldn't we do this? Anytime you lose that, I don't know if you're going to be making the best, because no single leader knows 100% of the time that you're always going to make the right decision. You're going to need to ask that one question, which is what? What do you think, Jedediah? What do you think? What are your thoughts? Here's what's going on. This is what we know. Here's the intel that our intelligence officer just told us. What do you think we should do? What do you think we should do? What do you think we should do? Are we making the right decision? I don't think we are. Tell me what. No, I don't. We're missing that part.
Yeah, so I don't want a military of robots.
No,
I don't.
No,
I don't
you
want
don't.
that.
You don't want that.
Would you encourage your own children to join the military as it looks and as it stands in 2022? No,
not the way it is today. I don't. But here's how I sell the military as well. I sell it as in the Bet-David family, your first job is to go make money, okay? Have your success, make your money, take care of your wife, take care of your kids, take care of your family. If you're a woman, take care of your finances as well. And then afterwards, you got to figure out a way to give back to this country. You can choose to give it in many different ways. Some give it through education, some give it through nonprofits, some is through church, some is through charity, some is through public, politics. But you got to give back, because this country is here before us, and it gave us an incredible life, and it's going to be here after us. So no matter how much we win, we have to figure out a way to give back. So if my kids, if one of the boys wants to, I have them watch military movies all the time. Yeah. So we watch military movies because I want them to see that's honor. You see that right there? That's a hero right there. Look what that guy did right there. That's respect for what he did. So in our household, they look at military as heroes, but also we question a lot of BS with them all the time. Should women be in the military? I wouldn't want my daughter to join the Army. From the stories I hear with Navy and the Marines, probably not. Air Force, I don't think it's a bad idea for Air Force, for somebody that wants to go in and she's tough. Like, Vinny's sister was in the Air Force. She's about to retire, 20 years. I think Air Force is fine. I just know how it was in the Army when I was in, and how women were treated, and I don't know if I would want my daughter to go in the Army. I'm concerned about the lowering of standards, not just in the military, but in, when it comes to firemen, police officers. In order to have this gender inclusivity, oftentimes they lower the standards, or they say, well, we need a certain number of women, so maybe we should make it a little bit easier for them. And that's just not going to fly with me, given that these are roles where people are there to save lives. This isn't, this isn't fun and games. This isn't rainbows and, the land of Oz. These people are on, you call somebody, a police officer. Bottom line is, look at Patrick and look at me, audience. You call, danger hits your neighborhood, and you can call one of us. Which one of us do you call? This is not rocket science. They're going to call you, and they would be an idiot if they called me and said, you're twice my size. You have a background that in the military. It's absurd. So I'm worried about a society that now, in the name of inclusivity, we need to have a certain number of women, a certain number of men. They're just lowering standards, and in turn creating a very weak country at large. Yeah. No, listen, the same people that want women to be equal, they want women to be treated fairly, all this other stuff, are the same ones that are lowering standards. So why are you lowering standards? What is the interpretation? If we were to say, what does lowering standards to someone mean? If I lowered my standards to my 9-year-old over my 10-year-old, what am I saying? It's an indirect way of saying you're not as capable as my 10-year-old is. That's a form of directly telling my son, you don't have the capacity that my 10-year-old has right now, right? So if we lower the standards for women in the Army versus men, what are we saying? You don't have the capabilities that men have. So the same, what they're fighting for, they're actually working, their argument is working backwards against them. So
Right.
they're looking like fools. And then they're going to have to come back and spin it and change their argument again. But no, I mean, listen, at any job, it doesn't matter what it is. You want the best person at the job. Whether it's military, whether it's anything, you want the right person to be hired for that, not depending on the sex or any of that stuff.
What do you make of that? And we're going to get to a little bit of the gender stuff. I want to ask you about marriage. I want to ask you about this new world we're living in that's gone mad in many respects when it comes to toxic masculinity that's actually not toxic at all in most cases. But what do you make of this newfound desire by some in media, in society, in the system, to not acknowledge the basic reality that men and women are different? Why?
Why are they having a hard time with that?
Why are they purposely blurring those lines?
Well, you know, about 15 years ago, I was at a meeting in Malibu, and the campaign manager for Bush was there and the campaign manager for Clinton, and they debated for 1 hour. It was a room, only 40 of us. Dennis Prager was, and a few of us were in the room. Incredible experience seeing these two guys debate. And then Prager got up, and he had a whole different, every week it was somebody else. One day Prager got up and he said something very interesting. He says, for whatever reason, the left is trying to make everyone equal today. Animals and humans equal. Humans and God equal. Women and men equal. Everything was, and then they're trying to pin parents against kids, husbands against wives, men against women, church against attendees. Everything is pin. Now, this is nothing new. This is nothing new. This whole concept of how to get in, the divide and conquer concept has been around for a long time. Sun Tzu talked about it. It's been used in military many times. The whole concept of proxy war is a form of divide and conquer. A lot of times when two countries are fighting, this one doesn't know that behind closed doors, this one is being egged on by that guy and is saying, you won't believe what he said about you. Sometimes, you know, when divorces happen, like my mom and dad, they got a divorce, right? And as a kid, I was home and I would see my mom would have some friends that would come over. And they would start saying, so what is Gabriel doing? Oh, he doesn't do that? He doesn't do that? You got to be kidding me. He didn't do that for you. He should do this. Here's what every man should do. And I'm sitting over there playing with my toys, and I'm hearing one of my aunties saying this to my mom. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not saying anything because I'm 7 years old, but I understand they're saying this to each other, right? And then my dad comes home, and all of a sudden I see my mom going up to my dad. You're not a good husband. You don't do this. You didn't do that. You didn't do this. And he's like, where the hell is this coming from? But Dad's never gonna know that such and such auntie was egging my mom against him. So many times this happened. Eventually they got divorced twice in 20 years. Mm-hmm. They got married, my sister's born, they got divorced. They got remarried, I'm born, they got divorced. Two divorces in 20 years. But behind closed doors, there was politics being played. So we have to understand that today someone's egging you against someone you love, okay? At our event at the Vault, something very powerful happened, Jed. Very powerful. So the first night I give, in this booklet, I give you questions to go and process at night by yourself. To have a breakthrough, you got to go through certain questions. You got to ask, who do you get along with? Why? Who do you not get along with? Why? Is there a trend on what kinds of people you don't get along with? Right? All this stuff. One of the girls, the next I said, so raise your hand. What kind of a breakthrough did you have last night? First person says this, second person says this. One wife gets up, I've not been supportive of my husband, I'm gonna build a business together with him. Next guy gets up, I've not been involved with my wife with the finances. And by the way, this has nothing to do with a husband and wife business. Guy gets up, I wanna build a $100 million business. Then one girl over here, late 30s, early 40s, very attractive, well put together, you can tell she takes care of herself, right? Persian girl, sitting next to her sister. And she puts her arm up like this, and I go to her. 2,000 people in attendance. She gets up and she says, Patrick, this is very hard for me to say this. And let me tell you why it's very hard. I said, what's that? She says, ever since in high school, I wanted to prove to men that I can beat them. So when I graduated high school and college, I opened up my salon. We do very well. I've made millions of dollars. My people and my work that work at the salon, they do very well for themselves. I drive a nice car, I have a nice house, I have money, I have millions. I don't worry about any of that stuff. You know what decision I made last night? I said, what's that? She says, I want a husband. I no longer want to compete with men. I need them. And I'm like, what? She's saying this in front of 2,000 people with her sister sitting right next to her. Wow. And now she's getting emotional. How many 65-year-old women do we have to hear saying that I marched with the feminist movement and I bought into the fact that men are the enemy I'm 65 now. I've never been married. I don't have a single kid. I'm alone and I'm miserable. And I wish I would have never bought into that philosophy. This is why sometimes, Jed, in life, you have to be very, very, very careful whose philosophy you buy into. Because when you're in a web and you don't know you're in the web and you're caught up in this web, you don't lose a year. You don't lose 5 years. You can be bought into the wrong philosophy and lose 30 years of your life. Yep. And you don't get that back. It's over. You're 62 years old. Yes, you can make a little bit of momentum, but there's a difference between being 32 and 62. This is why the importance is to question everything. I was an atheist for 25 years. My mother, not necessarily practicing Christian. My dad's also not practicing church. One day I'm like, I want to find out for myself. I went to Scientology church. I went to Jehovah's Witness. I went to Mormonism. I studied everything I could get my hands on. Judaism, Christianity. Finally, I said, this is what I'm doing for me. But I questioned. My mother, I'm 14 years old. I'm going to school one day and they're talking politics. And Democrat, Republican, Independent, I have no clue what they're talking about. I just knew my mother and my dad would argue all the time. And my mom was a communist. Her family was, and he was an imperialist. So I come home and I say, hey, Dad, Mom, just out of curiosity, are we Democrats or Republicans? And she says, we're Democrats. I said, okay, cool. I said, why are we Democrats? She says, because Democrats are for the poor and Republicans are for the rich. And I said, you know what? I want to be a Republican when I grow up. Not because I want to be a Republican, because I hated being poor.
Right.
I didn't understand it. So as much as what you're saying and why they're doing it, the form of division, this division thing's been around for a long time. Unfortunately, 90% of the time, you don't know someone's trying to divide you until 20, 30 years later.
You did, this is a great transition, you did what some would deem an interview with a very divisive figure, Andrew Tate. You went over to Spain, you sat down, you did a fantastic interview with him, 5 hours long. I responded to it on this show. It's like, how many million now people have watched this video? It's really extraordinary, and I encourage people, if you haven't watched it, you should go over and you should watch that interview. What did you make of him? Because to me, and I've done so much research on him because I'm always interested in people when they get banned. I want to know why. Why was this guy being banned? And as far as I can see, there's no justification for him to be banned. You don't have to love what he says. You can hate what he says, whatever. Banning is next level. But I have found that there's a very different Andrew Tate that emerges in this short content, the shorts, the quick, and then you see more long form content, and it's a different guy. You get insight into a different guy. So I'm curious, did you spend any time with him off camera where you got to know him a little bit? Or what did you think? Like, if I were to say to you, who is the real Andrew Tate? What would you say?
You would like him. He's very likable.
Yeah.
He's very likable. He's funny. He's witty. He's a guy you would want to be in a military with. He's a guy that would do very well in the valuetainment community. He's a guy you want to run a sales team with. He's a guy you'd love to work at a gym with. He's that guy. He's the guy that you want to be on a sports team with and hang out with him and his brother, and whatever you can say about the guy. What you don't like about him is his philosophies, which is fine. Set the philosophies aside. I can't like a person whether I don't agree with him with his philosophies. I will say one part, though, that during the interview that kind of got me to say, where do these philosophies come from? Okay. Obviously, the father, who he was, what he did, he had a lot of influence over them and the brothers. Yes, women, what they do, party, all this stuff that they do, great, more power to them. No drugs. They don't do drugs. They don't do any of that stuff. They're purely about running their businesses together, having each other's back. What parent wouldn't want their sons to be that close to each other, right? One, all he talks about is, as long as I have my brother, I need nobody, right? Who wouldn't want that? Tell me what parent doesn't want their kids to be that close with each other. But there's one thing. Here's the one thing. When I was talking to him and he was given a lot of his philosophies, I've hung out with a lot of Christian men and I've hung out with a lot of Muslims in my lifetime. It seemed like both of those, religions had an influence over him, both of them, where you feel a little bit of the Christian religion have an influence over him, but also the Muslim. In the Muslim religion, as much as, people in America want to make it's a very peaceful thing. You've heard Bill Maher say this before, where Bill says, most Muslims are not terrorists. But Bill Maher also says, but most terrorists are Muslims, right? So when you read that, like, oh, wait a minute, you can't say that. He's not wrong, right? When you have this kind of a conversation. There's a part of him where I think the way the Muslim community looks at women, it is very submissive. It is very I get to do this and you can't. It is very, I can have multiple wives. You can't have multiple husbands. It is very, you can't get to sleep around, which, your body count. It is very you wait for one man. It is very much of that, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know who, but I think somebody of the Muslim descent, Muslim religion had a big influence on this guy, Tate, both of them, because you feel that. And it makes sense because in London, there's a big Muslim community. So whether there was a mentor or somebody, or maybe even his father, he has that part. Because the way you look at women when you're from that religion is a different way than the way you look at women when you're a different religion. It's just the truth. Mm-hmm. People can say what they want to say. That's just how it is.
When you listen to his long form content, do you find him to be more of a positive influence than a negative? Or how do you wind up feeling in terms of his influence on men and society at large? Positive or negative?
Absolute net positive. I don't see anything that's a net negative. I see all of the net positive for him. Mm-hmm. For getting men to get in shape. You kidding me? Our testosterone level has dropped since 1980. Every year our testosterone levels dropped 1% for that age category. Not every year like when I'm 35, then 36, 37. Every year the average male's testosterone level was dropped. Our PSI, on how strength or grip strength is, it's dropped from 1985. It was at 116. Right now it's 96. For women, it's gone from 79 to 98. How's that even possible? Women have stronger grip strength than men in many cases. How is that even possible? How's that even happening? Because we're no longer pushing men to be masculine and, hey, admire a, bodybuilder, tough guy, a fighter. We looked up to these guys. Right now it's looking up to, pansies and sissies. One of the things I love about what Dana White is doing and what UFC is doing, this concept of UFC is encouraging a lot of boys to become men. The concept of UFC is to learn how to fight, to learn how to protect your family, to learn how to protect yourself. Go out there and hit the gym. You're going to be pushed around with other guys. You're going to be grappling, wrestling. My boys wrestle. My boys do jiu-jitsu 3-4 times a week.
Good for them.
They're going through that. You need that part, right? Like the other day, it's like that one commercial with Gillette. No, you guys shouldn't fight. You know that commercial?
Yes.
You guys shouldn't fight. The other day, my son, Tico, Patrick, so him and he's like, Daddy, I want to wrestle with you. So I said, I'm going to kick your ass, just so you know. I said, I want to wrestle with you. So we're wrestling. 5 minutes. I'm thinking he's going to be done in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We went 45 minutes. And all I have to tell him is one thing. You're getting stronger, but you're not yet stronger than Daddy. I will let you know when you're stronger than me. You're not there yet. He comes back. He comes back. He comes back. He comes back. Boys need that. Mm-hmm. We need that. We need that element of it. This whole concept of trying to pansify all these boys out there that are trying to be men is very, very strange to me. But again, Jedediah, for me, it always goes back to this. I've sat with a lot of my guys in sales, and I would tell them, Johnny, this works. Nope, I'm going to do it my way. No problem. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do it your way. 3 months later, 6 months later, 9 months later, hey, Pat, I'm in debt. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Okay, you ready? Yeah. Do this. This works. Pat, I'm fully ready. Go ahead, do this. Boom. Oh, my God, I can't believe this works. Told you a year ago this works. Sometimes we have to go through entertaining bad ideas. And you have to look at a country as a human being. The country today is rebellious. The country today is soft. If it was a human being, it's questioning things, and it's a little bit upset at its grandfather that was rich and hardworking and all this. Like, I don't want to be like my grandpa. All this pressure about my grandpa. And he's just kind of trying to, but he's going to fail. And he's going to fail miserably. Then he's going to come back and it's going to say, listen, many of these old principles work. Tell me, what do we need to do? Let's go. So unfortunately, as painful as it is, during our generation, me and you are going through it right now. We're the same age, so we're going through it. America as a country is going through a scary time right now. It's painful watching it. But how long it's going to last? Reagan said we're always one generation away from losing our freedom. The key is to stay paranoid. I don't think it's the idea of stay positive, thinking nothing's going to happen. No. I say we stay paranoid. We keep talking about the topics. But I don't think we're going to stay here for too long because bad ideas always get exposed.
Yeah. I mean, when you were talking about that grip strength between men and women, I mean, that's just a reality because men have been feminized for so long now, and women are told get stronger. So you have society that's constantly propping women up in the sense of saying, you don't need a man. Go get that career, get that 9 to 5, climb that corporate ladder, get in the gym, get strong, be Sarah Connor from the Terminator. I know I grew up in that time where I was like, oh, I want to be Sarah Connor. Of course, that was a movie, that wasn't real. But you have women getting that message, and you have guys getting the message. Sit down and let the girls talk in school, they say. Sit back. You've been talking enough. Guys have been talking enough in this life. Let the girls step up to the podium and talk. Let them have their chance. And the guys are deflated all the time. I've seen it happen in academia all the time. Guys get the message that if they're masculine and they're proud of that masculinity, that's somehow toxic and they have to now become more feminized. I believe this is all by design because, as I've said many times, you can't destroy a society without going after strong men, because if rebellion needs to happen, that's the group of people that are going to stand up. Those toxically masculine men are the ones that are going to stand up and say, no. They're going to know how to defend themselves and their family. They're going to be financially stable, and they're not going to swallow all of the nonsense coming their way. So they need to weaken those guys without question. I'm curious, though, when you were talking about this, I always think of you. You're a dad. How has it been very different for you raising daughters and raising sons?
First of all, I'm very lucky and grateful that I have 2 boys and 2 girls. Right? Two boys and 2 girls.
How did you do that?
Awesome. Let me tell you. It's awesome, right?
That's what everybody wants, the perfect mix.
Again, I feel lucky and grateful for the fact that we have 2 boys. It's a 10-year-old, 9-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 17-month-old Brooklyn, right? So, it's a very different dynamic on how it is with the 2. Boys, it's easier because you can talk to them freely. You can sit down. And I've talked to my boys from a very young age about girls, sex, all this. I've talked to these guys openly because I think you need to nowadays. If you don't, somebody else will. You have to control the point of contact. The old days of saying, I'm not comfortable to talk to my kids about this stuff, you just can't do. With my daughter, just this last week, I pulled her aside. I said, we need to have a conversation together. And I started talking to her about secrets. The only people you can have secrets with is your family. You can't have secrets with strangers. There is no such thing as having secrets with strangers. A girl shouldn't have secrets with strangers till very, very later on in life when you have best friends, or maybe you got a boyfriend, or you got like a husband. Then, of course, you're going to have secrets that parents are not going to know about. But up until a certain age, the only people you can have secrets with is parents, siblings, maybe. That's it. Because a lot of times somebody will come and say, this is our secret. You don't tell your parents, I won't tell anybody, and we're going to have this. So you got to talk about a lot of this stuff here with the kids. You got to be careful with the cartoons. You got to be careful with what content they're consuming. All of that stuff, you have to be on it more. But, do
you parent them differently, though? Do you parent sons and daughters differently?
I do, however, I have
Tell me how, though. I want to know how.
My sons have gotten pow-pows. I haven't given one for 3 years. 2.5 years, they haven't gotten one. I've never laid hands on Senna. I can't. Never. Because I don't want her to think it's even normal and acceptable for her to get it, spanking. Now, discipline Senna all the time. But the discipline is you get in our household, you don't play iPad 5 days a week. Monday through Friday, there's no iPad. The only time you get iPad is Saturday, Sunday, only time. And the way you get it is by earning it. Every day you're required to read 20 pages the time you turn 6 years old. Once you turn 6 years old, including vacations, Sundays, Saturdays, doesn't matter. Our kids wake up every morning at 7 o'clock reading books on their own, not because we wake them up, because they know their reward is based on them consuming books that gets them to be smarter. Our oldest son now reads 3 hours a day, not because we tell him to.
That's great.
He's done. He's into it. That's part of his life, right? So the expectation is there. The standards don't change. Just the delivery of message to the boys, it's a little bit more tougher. Mm-hmm. With the girl, it's a little bit more gentler.
A big part of the conversation that happens in the manosphere and the red pill movement is the concept of a high value man. And you're referenced all the time. People say Patrick Bet-David is a high value man. What does that mean to you? You've been very successful in business. What qualities make a high value man? So
character's at the bottom, at the foundation of his character. And character to me, it's many different things. Keeping your word. If you're going to say you're going to do something, you do it. Being consistent, being respectful, showing up, leading in any situation you can, being willing to do the work, constantly working on yourself. Character says a lot about an individual. You could have no hard skills, none at all. You could have no degree, but if you got a strong character, we're going to be all right. Kai, when he came to us, he didn't have a degree. He was an 18, 19-year-old kid that flew out from Norway for a job interview. And I'm telling Mario, what's this guy doing? Flying out from Norway.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times I've had a 45-minute FaceTime with his mom or his dad from Norway? They'll call me and we'll be on the phone together talking. His mom and dad were in town the other day and we had dinner. I took him out to Casa D'Angelo. And they have 5 kids, of which 4 of them are doctors or going to be doctors, and 1 of them is Kai, okay? When you talk to Kai, you sense values and principles and strong character. I don't need to meet the parents to know who the parents are. Just by meeting Kai, I know who the parents are. When you meet the mom and dad who've been married together for 31, 32, 33 years, he's a chiropractor, she's a teacher, they live in Norway, she was from America, they met, they got married, they got 5 beautiful kids. You know, that part allows me to trust the individual and forgive them more because they are coming from a very strong character. That's a part of being a strong man. The other part is you got to be an earner. You can't rely on the government. You can't rely on your parents. You can't rely on anybody to take care of you. You got to pay your bills. You got to make your money. You got to pay your taxes. You got to be a net positive to society where you're contributing to society. People around you have to feel like they're protected if you're there. And, you know, if you want to take it to a whole different level, your body's got to be in shape. You can't be sloppy. You can't be out of shape. You can't be somebody that's coming home every night at 5 o'clock having a beer. Hey, turn on the TV and I'm just watching news, having chips. No one respects somebody like that. I mean, we can have respect for anybody, but nobody looks at somebody like that saying, oh my God, you're such an impactful you know, person to society. We broke it down about 6 weeks ago. I'm writing this new business book with Penguin, and we created a system on how we look at leaders, people who are leaders. We got 3 different types of citizens in any society. One is the lowest level, which is bad citizen. A bad citizen, we all know what they do. They don't pay their bills. They don't take care of their family. They don't take care of their kids. They don't do their stuff. So that's a bad citizen. You can define them very easily. Then you have the good citizen. Good citizen has a strong character and they have some kind of a hard skill. Hard skill is what? You're a plumber. Hard skill is you know how to code, you know how to edit, you know how to cut, you know how to shoot, you know how to do certain things. You got a hard skill. Then the impactful person in a society is a person that's got soft skills. What does soft skills mean? I can give a tough message to you in a proper way while you receive it, where somebody else will give that same message and offend you. A person needs to learn how to, like, this is the one thing I think that Tate is working on right now, where he's trying to change he's saying it himself, where I want to be able to deliver my message in a more concise way, and that requires soft skills, okay? So I'm going to deliver the message, and I'm going to do my best to give it to you in a way that you're going to be able to receive it. And the last but not least is, you know, in life you're going to have many events that is going to cause a paradigm shift. You know, one is getting married, one is having kids. First time I cried having a kid was with my Senna, because I didn't cry with Tico and Del. I was just so happy when I had 2 boys. But with Senna, I stood over Jen. I had tears. I'm like, wow, I'm excited about having a girl. It's very emotional with Senna. Yeah. It was something different with Senna. And then obviously Brooklyn. But moments you're going to have in your life where you have a paradigm shift, you have to internalize those moments, because it could produce a certain fire and a juice in your life that can introduce you to a new version of you you've never met before. And these paradigm shifts are not all positive. It could be a setback. It could be a breakup. It could be a death in the family. It could be getting publicly humiliated. It could be getting fired. It could be, you know, somebody saying something behind your back who you loved, you thought they were supportive, but you heard them saying something and you're hurt by this. Right. In those moments, one can have a paradigm to shift to say, well, maybe they're right. What do you want to do about it? Maybe we got to get better. Maybe I am lazy. Maybe I'm not working that hard. Maybe it is my fault. When you're by yourself, publicly we may not admit to, but privately you're going to be like, I want to do something about this part. In those moments, if you don't use those unique moments, because they don't come too often, if you don't use those unique moments to really tap into the emotion and do something big with your life, it's a lost opportunity. So Tate, to me, I feel he's had a lot of those publicly humiliating moments or heartbreaks, and he's used that to put it here, and then he's won. So I would say that's what I would call a net positive as a man.
Yeah, you know, and one of the criticisms of the Red Pill movement is some people will say, oh, they're too focused on money. And it's interesting. I think when people think of money, many think of fancy things, cars and your house. For me, as a kid who didn't grow up with money, to me, money meant freedom. Money meant the ability to pick up your family and move somewhere else if you need to. Money meant if your businesses was locked down in New York during the pandemic, some people were able to move to Florida and start up a new business. Others got buried, unfortunately. So for me, I feel that the message is earn money so that you can be self-sufficient, so you are not dependent on the system and you have that mobility. But I'm curious for someone like you, because you talked about being an earner. You obviously have accumulated, a lot of wealth, been very, very successful. If one of your sons came to you, honestly, and said, Dad, you know what, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a preschool teacher, or I want to be a third grade teacher, and I want to be the soccer coach, and that's what makes me really happy. Would there be any part of you that would be concerned about that in terms of will he be a sufficient earner, or would be worried about whether or not he could be a high value man just based on numerical limitations salary-wise? Does that come to mind for someone who's achieved such enormous financial stability and success like yourself?
Yeah, great question. So one, the shadow, I think the shadow is the concern. I'm more concerned about the shadow than I am about what this kid's going to decide to do with his life. So let me break these two things down. So 5 months ago, I come home and my oldest son comes in and he says, Jennifer's like, hey, babe, talk to Patrick. Everybody today was Googling Patrick Bet-David and they saw your stuff and valuetainment came up and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, oh, awesome. Hey, Tico, so tell me about your day. I don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it? Because we have the same name. So I don't want to talk about it. So you don't want to talk about it? No, I don't want to talk about it, Dad. And he's not disrespectful. He just doesn't want to talk about it. I'm like, he never talks to me like that before. So it's bedtime. He's going upstairs. I said, I got to go talk to Tico. So I go upstairs and said, Tico, hey, what happened today? Why were you saying you didn't want to talk about it? I said, I just don't want to talk about it, Dad. And he's covering his face with a blanket. He never does that. This guy's very uncomfortable with me. So I said, can I ask you a question? He said, yes. I said, are you worried because we have the same name and you have to live up to what your daddy's done? Is that kind of your concern because everyone's Googling my picture comes up? He says, I am. I said, okay, cool, no problem. I said, that's a valid concern. I said, can I give you some options to see what you want to do? He says, yeah. I said, do you want to change your name? Let's change your name. I said, I don't want to change. I love my name. I said, do you love your name? He says, yeah. So why do you love your name? Because it's you, my first name, and my grandpa's my middle name, Gabriel. And I love my last name. I said, so you don't want to change your name? I said, no. So your concern isn't the fact that you don't want the pressure of having my name. Your concern is what? You think I want you to be me? I do. So you think I want you to run an insurance company one day and be daddy? Yes. So do you want to be? No. So you don't have to be. I said, Daddy, what do you want to do in your life? He says, Daddy, you know what I want to do in life. I said, what do you want to do? Tell me. I already know, but I want you to tell me. I want to make movies and I want to tell stories. I said, no problem. I said, but what are the 4 things we do in the Bet-David family? He says, we lead, we respect, we improve, we love. We don't bully, we don't get bullied, and we pray for 4 things: courage, wisdom, tolerance, understanding. Yes, Daddy. I said, I don't care what industry you choose to go in. The only expectation I have of you is to make sure you do those 4 things. If you go in any industry, I expect you to lead, respect, improve, and love in any situation you're in. That's the Bet-David MO. So he says, so you really don't want me to do what you do when I grew up? I said, not at all, buddy. You go do whatever you want to do. I just want to see you be your best. The only thing is when you make movies, can I go watch movies for free when your movies comes out? He says, I think I'll give you and mommy free tickets. And he's actually not going. And then we change the subject and he's now dreaming once again. Look, you and I get a chance to set the tone and the expectation with our kids. Are they going to follow that? They're going to live their own lives. Right. I only got 8 more years with this kid. That's it. He's 10. 8 more years. He's on his own. He gets to do what he wants to do without my permission. Yeah. So I have only 8 more years to impose my philosophies, my standards, my expectations, my method of reasoning. And he gets to choose to do whatever he wants to do with that for the next 72 years because he's most likely going to live up to 90 years old. I can't do nothing from there on. I can only be a positive influence from the back supporting him. So it wouldn't bother me if they chose to be any of that stuff as long as they led, they respected, they improved. And loved. If you choose those 4 philosophies, it's impossible for him to be a math teacher. He would eventually, if he's constantly improving, he would end up becoming the best math teacher or go to a university or end up starting his own school because that's the only thing that happens if you focus on constantly improving no matter what you choose to do. So that's the conversation I've had with these guys for quite a while now.
Yeah. I want to ask you about marriage. So I know Jen a little bit, and you're very different. The two
Very,
of you,
yes.
very, very different. How did you know that she was the one?
So because I dated one like me.
Okay. What was that like?
Oh my God.
Tell me, high-powered.
Yeah.
Like-
So what I did is I had a lot of relationships, and what that did to me is I saw what I liked and I saw what I didn't like. I saw what I didn't do well with, what personality I didn't do well with. And the other person ended up getting married, happily married, has multiple kids, and they're very happy. And I'm married and I got 4 kids and I'm very happy. So it's not about the individual. It's not about you. It's about finding someone you can mesh with. So I had to sit down and, I wrote out everything. What do you want her to look like? I'm talking toes, height, hair, eyes, lips, temperament, everything. I wrote as many things as I could. And then even though you write this perfect image of who you want the person to be, there's no way one is going to have 100% of it, because that's too much pressure on the other person as well as yourself. Then I wrote my non-negotiables. These things, I'm not compromising. I'll compromise this. I'll compromise that. I'm not compromising these 3. And then one day, Patty Lopez, who was my assistant at one point, I said, Patty, I've made a decision. I'm staying single the rest of my life. I enjoy my own company.
How old were you at that
I was
point?
28, 27. I said, I go to movies by myself. I can have fun. I'm good. I'm fun. All of that stuff's going to be fun. I don't need to get married. She says, Pat, just don't say that. You don't know. She said, let me tell you, this book just came out. I think you need to read this book, 101 Questions to Ask Before You Get Engaged. So I pick up the book. I'm like, this is great. These questions I never thought about, right? And then eventually, I was talking to 4 girls at the time. I gave the book to all 4 of them. We did the exercise together. And then I said, I know for a fact I can't be with her. I know for a fact I can't be here. This one, there's a lot of things, but there's a non-negotiable. And then Jen and I sat down and we did this for 6 hours. On our second date, I bought the book for her. 6 hours later, I said, I think this is the one.
Did she at all react oddly to how organized this all was?
You know what is crazy? What's crazy is most of them love the fact that I was leading them.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing, because I said, listen.
Is it though? Is it crazy if you think about it?
It depends on who you're talking to, right? I'm sure certain girls I was dating in my early 20s may be like, you're out of your mind, you're crazy. But it was also who I started attracting more, where I didn't entertain what I was entertaining before. So they were like, oh, wow, I love this. Yeah, let's do this. Great. I've already got mine. Here's your book. I got you a copy. Go through it. And it was the most incredible exercise every time.
And you knew right away, based on how she answered the questions, you were like, this is it?
You know why? Because I know right there, I can't do it with you. I'm going to piss you off and you're going to upset me. And maybe we're going to be together for 3 months. Maybe we're going to be together for 6 months. It's just not going to work. I was in 2 relationships whom I loved, the people I was in relationships with, good people, good friends of mine. But we would go out and I'm like, I just know it's not going to happen. But because I'm not in a phase of my life where I want to get married, I'm okay staying in a relationship, because you're not expecting me to get married. So if you're not pushing me to get married and I don't want to get married, we can date. It's totally fine. But the moment it came to the position of, now it's time, do you want to get married to me or not? No, I think we need to go our own separate ways.
How do you feel about marriage in terms of advice you'd give to men out there? There's a lot of hesitation by some.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the divorce rates are actually declining now. But still, there's a good percentage of the population that's like, this is too risky. I don't know. Do you advise men to get married if it's the right match, or is it a positive move in most people's lives? Do you think?
I think you're miserable if you don't get married. It's just, when do you get married? If you really think you're going to be happy staying single the rest of your life, really? Like, a man can really sell me on staying single the rest of your life and you never ever get married and experience life? What's the whole purpose of life? Like, really, what is the purpose of life? Okay, to do what? To go out there and party? Fine. For how long? To go out there and do what? To go out there and, have as many, for guys, body count is bragging rights, right? It's different for women. For men, it's like, hey, I'm at 182. Where are you at? I'm at 62. Where are you at? I'm at 22. You're at only 22. But okay, at what point did you, is there like a leaders bulletin that you eventually make it? Is it like a Forbes 400? Hey, I'm in the Forbes 400, right? I'm in Will Chamberlain, Warren Beatty status. I'm in Jack Nicholson or, these Ric Flair status. There is no reward for that. There is no recognition for that. It's only cool when you're in your 20s and your 30s. And maybe when you're in your 60s, a 20-year-old admires you, but deep down inside, you're empty, right? Okay. So let's look at it from different standpoints. I don't think getting married early is a good idea. I think for men, I think 30, 35, 40 is fine. I think even if a man waits till 40 to get married, I think it's totally okay. It's not something that's out of the ordinary. If you're lucky enough and you find somebody in your 30s, go for it. 20s, I don't recommend it. I think you got to wait until you get married a little later on. Now, the other side. Okay. So picture being 70 years old, because you're eventually going to be 70 years old. God willing, you're going to be 70 years old because you live that long. All right. You come home. Are you cohabitating with somebody? What are you doing? Okay, so let's just say you were 70 years old. You've never had a kid. What are you doing at 70? You think all your friends are also single that want to hang out with you? Most of your friends at 70 years old have back problems. They're doing some kind of surgery. They're going to funerals. They're mourning with somebody. They're trying to live life. But 70, you have more problems than you did when you were 30, okay? More bad things happen the older you get because you have more people that you're losing. And eventually you're going to be in your apartment or your house by yourself. Maybe you got the nice cars. Maybe you got the girlfriend that's 30 years younger than you. And then what? Who are you celebrating life with? Who are you processing issues with? I don't like having conversations, I enjoy conversations, but I enjoy conversations with the same person over and over and over and over and over again because we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Then there's a relationship. So at 70 years old, if you have no kids that are calling you, if you have nothing to look forward to, if you don't have someone that's about to have a grandkid, what else are you looking forward to? What is it then?
Yeah.
So then you're going to look back saying, what the hell am I doing here? So I do think marriage is the way to go. I think it's a great idea to get married to the right person. I do think no matter who you choose to get married to, there's a high risk that's involved. I'm a big proponent of nuptial agreements. I'm a proponent of having those things in place, managing expectation up front. But staying single, 30, 40, maybe. The rest of your life, you're going to be like that feminist that's going to turn around and regretting life for staying single their entire life.
You'll have 50 cats is the translation of that.
Yeah.
A feminist with 50 cats.
Not that we know anybody with cats, but it's just not a...
Yeah, but still, I'm curious, you're raising daughters, and one of the things that really concerns me is the way women are coming into the world in modern society, the hyper promiscuity of women and the way that's being, hailed. You were talking before about body count in men and how it's bragging rights. Well, now that's what women are doing. They are very proud of this escalating number. You hear, I cover panels of women where they're 21, 22, and they're saying, oh, my body count is, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 13, and my mouth is just agape because I wasn't raised that way. We talked about high value men. When you think of high value women and what makes a high value woman, I'm assuming that you believe you married a high value woman. Does that look different? And does this new hyper promiscuity in society worry you about? You have 2 daughters, they're going to be coming into this world. And does that diminish a woman's value in your view to be promiscuous and to build up that body count like a man?
Of course it does. Of course.
You can't say that these days.
Of course it does. But I'll say to you this way. Okay, somebody comes in for a job interview.
Yeah.
And in the last 5 years, they've had 20 jobs. How do you look at them?
Mm-hmm. It's a problem.
It's a problem. Something's comes wrong. For a job interview, and they're 32 years old. And from 22 till 32, they've worked at 2 companies. How do you look at them?
Yeah, positive.
Positive. Mm-hmm. I sit there and I say, wow, no matter who you work with, you're going to have conflicts with that individual. Mm-hmm. No matter who you work with, no matter what company you go to, there's going to be conflicts. Everywhere you work, you're going to have a conflict with your boss potentially, maybe a direct report, maybe a coworker, maybe HR, maybe board. You're going to have conflicts. The fact that this person was able to stay at 2 companies for 12 years, 6 years and 6 years tells me they're mentally tough, they're emotionally tough, they don't jump to conclusions, they're rational, they can see the other side, they probably take responsibility. The same exact way we don't like to see people with too many jobs on their resume, we don't like to see too many boyfriends and body count on the resume for women. Whether they like it or not, that's just how it is. Now, let me give you the flip side of it. If a guy is not a high market guy, you're not bringing a lot of value to the marketplace, you don't get to choose because you don't get to get the best options for yourself. When I was 23, I wanted to choose who I wanted to be with. The word, they're finally settling down. I don't even like that phrase. They're like settling down. What do you mean I'm settling down, right? The only reason people have to settle is because their market value isn't high to have too many options. But if your market value is high where you have a lot of options, you get to pick and choose who you choose to be in a relationship with, right? So some men may be like, well, for me, I'm not a high, you two body count. Yeah, bro, you listen, really? Just chill out. For you, you can go with somebody that's got 200 body because you ain't got no value bringing to the market values. You got nothing to say here. You ain't got a job. You're broke. You're living with mommy and daddy. Stop complaining. Get out of the house. Go get a damn job. Pay some bills. So you choose your options, but the idea to think that it's normal to do so, you have to be naive to buy into that idea. Naive.
I want to shift over to a little bit of business and just a little bit of issues facing the country right now. When you look at the political landscape, economic landscape, whatever it may be, what are the issues that you're most concerned about? I don't know if issues keep you up at night, but let's say they did. What would those issues be?
So Robert Reich yesterday, I don't know if you know who Robert Reich is, professor, socialist, left, whatever you want to call him, right? He tweets out yesterday and he says, there's no way a CEO's average salary from 1978 till today should increase 1,470%, a number like that. He tweets it out. So the average person that doesn't know numbers will look at that and say, what? Oh my God, he's right. Why should the average salary of a CEO increase 1,478%? These rich people are just totally this, that. Okay, well, the average NBA player's salary has increased 10,000%. The average salary was $35,000, $40,000. They're making $8.8 million a year. Okay, is that a problem too? Maybe we should look at that. And by the way, majority of basketball players are African Americans. So NBA, who the founder of the NBA was a white guy, has helped out the African American community because majority of the best players in the world in the NBA are African American. Now you're starting to see some of these guys like Luka and other guys that are coming in the game. But should we look at that and say NBA players are paid too much? Because I think they're paid too little, if you ask me. I think LeBron needs to get paid $80 million a year, $100 million a year. I think some of these guys deserve to get paid a lot more. Then I said, what do you think about the fact that college tuition from 1978 till today has increased 1,500%, give or take? Is that okay? Why has college tuition increased 1,500% since 1978? And then the other thing I asked him at the end, Robert Reich, I said, so while you're complaining about CEOs making the kind of money that they're making, your keynote rate today, you're asking for $100,000 an hour. That's more than 99.9% of CEOs make in America per hour. Should we be concerned about these numbers, right? Then you look at the commentary on what people say. Ooh, somebody finally called him out. Patrick, this is so disingenuous. How can you not understand what point he's making? Robert Reich, a socialist, so they go and they debate, right? If we cannot see both Robert Reich's point and my point, and we can't see that exchange where the person can make up their minds and say, I agree with Robert, I agree with Pat, we have a problem, okay? So my biggest fear is we're afraid of debate today. We're afraid of discourse today. We're afraid of people clashing ideas, and God forbid it gets us closer to the truth. Oh my God, this is a terrible idea. The same Persian girl that I had on, so funny, she's anti-Second Amendment, she's anti all this stuff that she's talking about, right? I said, let me ask you this question. Iran, these women that are protesting, okay, and they're going through what they're going through, and New York Times said this is not about women, this is Iran's got bad economy, and you called them out, New York Times, because your minor is in media criticism, and because New York Times is part of her camp. I said, but these people are going up against the government, and the government has guns and weapons, but the civilians don't have any weapons. Do you think the way Iranians will be free is through a peaceful revolution or a violent revolution? Her answer, oh, it's going to be a violent revolution. So to match the violence that the government can impose on the Iranian people, what do you think we can do to help the Iranian people? Well, they need guns, they need weapons. Also, you're pro-Second Amendment. Got it. So the whole concept of Second Amendment is that if the government ever wanted to come and intrude, the average person is going to have some kind of a gun to protect themselves against the government. What a great point you just made. And you see the look on her face.
Right.
Uh-oh. I just got, so the point again, now the audience can sit there and say, ooh, that's a good point. Pat, you try to get her right there and you cornered her. That's not cool. It doesn't matter. You get to make up your mind. So my fear all the way at the top is we're afraid of ideas that may offend us. Because as long as we are okay risking being wrong with an idea, we'll be okay, because we're all going to be wrong at some point. But the moment we're afraid and we just want everyone to hear only one side of the story, we're going to be facing a lot of problems.
My fears are related as well. I fear a robot culture now where people are completely passive until it's too late, where they don't worry about, they don't even think. When you have that Second Amendment argument with people and you're debating, they don't even think that government could be the problem. It's like they forgot the whole country's history. They forgot completely, and they can't imagine because they're so used to swallowing so much from government all the time. And, when we went through COVID, I just couldn't believe how many business owners in New York just swallowed the lockdowns. And I was just thinking, if you had band together and just said, we're not shutting down, not one business, not two businesses, but a whole bunch of businesses just said, we're just going to stay. What do you think they were going to do? If people walked into their company and said, hey, we have letters from our doctors and we're not going to get this experimental vaccine right now, we don't feel comfortable, they weren't going to let the whole company go. So it's just this passivity. So you have the passivity of the population juxtaposed with this increasingly centralized power structure that's very concerning. I look at someone like you've made a lot of money, and I say, does it keep you up at night that there could be a digital currency? Does it keep you up at night having money? And I don't know where your money is, but if your money's in these traditional banking systems, because when you did that interview with Tate, the thing that stuck out to me is him saying, they didn't just come from me on YouTube and on social, they came from me on Airbnb and Uber. And this all gets very concerning when there's a centralized power structure that suddenly decides your misinformation and everything shuts down, and you have a largely passive population that's very comfortable with swallowing authority, even if it's tyrannical. So does that stuff keep you up at night? Temporarily,
yes. Long-term, no. Because temporarily, that will scare you, but long-term, someone's going to find a solution that's willing to take your money. What you're always going to need is the following. If I work for a company, let's just say I work for a company, and the reason why I have no fear working for anybody, partnering up with anybody, is the following reason. I'm going to bring value. I'm going to improve. I'm going to lead. I'm going to bring my best to the company. I'll outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast. I'm going to do this, okay? And let's just say all of a sudden, the company starts saying, well, Patrick's being too this and Patrick's being too that, and we got to be careful with Patrick. This is no problem. There's a place for me everywhere in the market. There's a high demand for leaders who lead, respect, improve, love, who outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast, period. Someone's going to want someone like me in their company, in their state, in their city, in their country. So if you do that part right, there's always going to be a place. Like JP Morgan Chase comes on and says, hey, Kanye, we don't want your money anymore. Yeah, by November 10th or whatever the date it is, you got to take your money out and go elsewhere. Okay, no problem. Say he's got $1 billion in the bank. Say he's got $300 million in his Chase account, whatever the number is, because most of the time billionaires, people think they have $6 billion sitting in an account. A person worth $6 billion typically only has 10% in cash. Yep. Everything else is all over the place, even less than 10% in cash. So his $600 million, let's just say. You don't think there's another place that wants a $600 million that they can take from him and lend to another person and have an arbitrage and make the difference? There's so many places he can put his money to. He's laughing. Banks in Swiss or banks in Singapore are saying, Kanye, how you doing, Mr. Kanye? We love your music. Let me tell you, you're the best of the best. We will be more than happy to take your $600 million. And matter of fact, we'll give you 4% interest if you bring it to us at the Bank of Singapore or Bank of whatever. Capitalism works. You can try to bully a capitalist. Capitalists are always in demand. Someone's always going to want it because it's hard. If being a capitalist was easy, there'd be 10 Kanye Wests. There's not. There's only one. If capitalism would be so easy, there would be 10 Elon Musks. There's only one. It's not that easy to go out there and build a business, pay the price, potentially lose your relationship, late nights. People are partying, you're not. You have to study. You're going through a lawsuit. You're going through an issue with a competitor. You lost people here, customers, someone's unhappy. It's not easy. It is a very, very hard thing to do. But no matter what people say about Elon Musk, how much you think, like if Elon right now is saying he has to sell $11 billion of shares in Twitter. So I posed a question earlier. I said, so Elon has to sell $11 billion of Tesla to put into Twitter. Would you rather have $11 billion in Tesla or $11 billion in Twitter? You know what people said? As long as Elon's at the top, I don't care where the money is at because I know he's running it, right? Right. So yeah, short term it'll be a headache if somebody cancels you, but the market's always in demand for capitalists, always.
You could have gone anywhere to start Valuetainment, and you chose Florida. Why Florida?
So we were sitting down during COVID, and while we're going back essential, non-essential, and when we were non-essential, I went to the office every single day. For 90 days, I missed one day, and it was a Sunday. I went there every day. My kids would be there, put a basketball court, and they're in the back, my parking space. They're shooting every day. They're watching documentaries. They're going through what they're doing, and I'm working every single day. And then I said, babe, we are at a phase right now that we got to pick the next place we want to go live for the rest of our lives. Do we want to go back to Newport Beach? Because we love Newport Beach. We've never lived there, but there's a house I wanted to buy. So we said, how about we go to Newport? How about we stay in Texas? How about we go to Nashville, Tennessee? I lived in Tennessee for a couple of years. I love it over there. How about we go to Tampa? How about we stay here? Or maybe we go to South Florida. We love the Breakers Hotel. We would always go to the Breakers Hotel. And we love, when I tell you love, I love the Breakers Hotel. So eventually we rented a house for Christmas in Fort Lauderdale. And we went and stayed there. I'm like, babe, this place is sick. So we're sitting on the back of Breakers. I'm having a cigar. She's sitting right next to me. And I said, babe, one day we're going to buy the Breakers Hotel. Come to find out, Breakers Hotel has been, Flagler gave it to his third wife, his youngest wife, and the wife kept it in the family. No one's ever sold it, so they're not selling it to nobody. I found this out this last week. But I said, babe, I want us to move out here because I think we can build a media company here. I want the kids to be going to school here. I want us to live by the water. I want the lifestyle. I like the politics. I like that it's purple. At the time it was purple. Left and right can get along. You'll have a debate, but it's not like the way it is in California, where God forbid you vote on one side. Here, if you say it, it's cool. Oh, you're one of those guys. It's all right. But you can coexist. So eventually we made that decision, and we said we're coming out here. Obviously, we've been here now for 2 years, and we're very happy.
What do you think is going to happen with Florida? Because Florida is very unpredictable. You say you like that. It appealed to you. For me, that was one of the things that I wasn't sure about. As you know, I was deciding between many of those states. I was like, do I go to Tennessee? Do I go to Texas? Do I come to Florida? And I just said, I think Florida is strong under DeSantis. I think he's done a fantastic job. But if it's not DeSantis, I don't know. Florida is very unpredictable in presidential elections and things of that nature. So what do you think happens? I want to ask you first, do you think DeSantis is going to run?
President?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. 90%. Do you think Trump is going to run and they're going to both be on the stage together?
If nothing happens here with whatever they're trying to do, all the shenanigans, he's also going to run.
Okay. That's a whole separate, we'll get to that in a second. What happens to Florida if DeSantis, let's say DeSantis ran, let's say DeSantis wins, do you have any concerns about Florida going very blue?
Of course. You always have that concern of going blue. Very blue? I don't know. Blue? Absolutely, right? Because you're going to have people that are going to go and try to target a couple different states. They're targeting Texas as well, though. They're targeting a lot of these red states. They know Texas is an enemy. And right now, in a lot of different markets in Texas, if you go to Austin right now, you won't feel like you're in Texas. Because Austin's not Texas. Austin's homelessness is up. In the streets, it's not like what you think it is. Yeah, they have a couple nice areas that you go to, but they're taking a hit. Houston's, they're now the third largest city in America, 2.8 million. They just passed up Chicago 2-3 years ago. So Houston's going to be a very powerful city. Some are saying it's going to be the biggest city in America in the next, 40, 50 years. By 2100, an economist said by 2100, Houston will be the largest city in America. So is there that risk in this state you live in? Yes. Okay. But let me ask the question a different way. What's the likelihood of California having a true conservative Republican governor the next 40 years?
Never. Not happening.
Okay, but give me the chances. Zero to 100.
Zero.
Let's say 1%.
0.1.
Okay.
I'll be generous.
What's the chances of us having an AOC governor in the state of Florida?
No, that's not happening either.
So if I'm going to deal with a liberal, I'm okay. But I'm not going to deal with a
radical.
I'm not going to deal with a radical. I don't have I voted for. I'm a Bill Clinton. So I don't have a problem being with somebody that understands that economy is critical. Leave the business owner alone. Sure, you want to talk about some of the other stuff. Fine, but for the most part, the chances of us having a conservative governor in California is 1%. The chance of us having a conservative governor here over the next 40 years, 4 or 5 times, is a lot higher. I'm going to take this risk over the other one.
I saw an exchange that was interesting the other day between our friend Dave Rubin and Megyn Kelly. And I don't know if you saw this one, they were talking about Trump voters. And Dave Rubin, I believe, was of the opinion that regardless, even if Trump and DeSantis get on the stage, the voters will coalesce behind whoever gets the nomination. And Megyn Kelly was essentially saying the Trump voters are not going to go for DeSantis. They will not leave Trump. And if they believe that this is Trump's turn, that he was denied last time, and that it's not DeSantis' turn. Even though they like what DeSantis is doing in Florida, they're not going to get behind DeSantis. They are Trump loyalists to the end. I'm back and forth. On the one hand, I think that it would be good for both candidates to get on the debate stage and may the best man win, honestly. It's very good for them to have to kind of go at it like that. On the other hand, I'm a little bit concerned about the way Trump will handle that debate stage. Because if he goes after DeSantis the way he goes after a leftist, I don't think that's going to play so well. And I don't know that he has that type of discipline to really understand that it's a different game.
Yeah. So here's what I think. There's a couple things. So take Trump's following and let's break it down in different types of people. What percentage of his following is kind of like sitting there saying, look, you had a great run, I loved it, but it's time to move on? What percentage do you think it is? It's got to be percentage. What do you think it is?
I think there's probably, for me, about half, honestly.
That are ready.
I think half know that he's got too much baggage.
I don't disagree. Let's take the other half. Of the other half that's there, what do they need if they had to choose between not voting, because they got to show up, right? If they had to choose between not voting or sucking their pride, just swallowing their pride and saying, you know what, I'm going to vote for DeSantis, what percentage the other half you think is willing to do whatever they can for another Biden or another person to get? So you got 50% left. It depends
what Trump does. If Trump throws his support behind DeSantis, they go. If he says, don't vote for this guy. That's what I'm saying.
Say they don't.
No, I think they'll stay home.
You think half is?
I think a lot, not half. I think about 25% of them stay home.
Then we're on the same page. Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is the fact that
Which is crazy.
I know. So I think 50% is going to leave no matter what. And they felt they've had a good run, but they're leaving. Okay. The other 25%, I think, is going to say, there's no way in the world I'm going another 4 years with Biden or Kamala or, Newsom or whoever's going to be, right?
Yeah.
The other 25%, which is the most important, is going to be for Trump to come out and say, hey, let's get behind DeSantis and let's do this for home team.
I don't know if he'll do that.
The chances of him doing that will come down to one thing. It's going to sound weird. It's going to come down to how Newsom handles Trump. Because how DeSantis handles Trump. If DeSantis comes out and he tries to troll Trump like Trump is going to troll him, if he does that,
forget it.
I think Trump's going to be remembering every one of those words and he's not going to endorse him.
Yeah.
But if I think DeSantis comes out and takes it from a standpoint of, I remember when President Trump endorsed me, I was supportive of it. I remember when this, I remember when that. And I think DeSantis is capable enough of delivering his message without offending Trump and still winning votes for Trump to say, fine, you gave me respect, because that's what's very important to Trump. You gave me respect, I say we go vote for him.
And you think it's going to be Newsom? That's who you think is going to? I mean, it's not going to be Biden. He
No,
has no idea who he is, where he is.
I think. Look, this is I think it's going to be Newsom, no matter what. I think Newsom is a superstar for the left. You may not like him, but he's a total superstar for those guys. I think. I think Mark Cuban. This is his season. He's about to step away from the show Shark Tank. I think he's stepping away for going out there and hiring the best consultants to prep him for all the topics, foreign, all that stuff. I'm not telling you it's a good camp. I'm just telling you, I think
that's a disaster,
if he's ever going to run, now is the time to run it. I think Michelle, if they're able to get Michelle to choose to get in, I think she's a force to be reckoned with. I just don't know if they want that life or not. I don't know if they want to do 16 years of that at this phase. Now their girls are getting older. The next phase is going to come. Grandma, grandpa, do they really want to do that?
Right.
I don't know. They got an incredible life. But if Michelle runs, it's a real threat. Newsom, the right has an insider that can give a lot of insight. Her name is Kimberly. There's a lot of information that she can give to their side about Newsom and how to get under his skin. But I think it's going to be a dogfight if Michelle Obama runs.
Newsom is a gift to DeSantis. A gift to DeSantis. I mean, just the lockdown.
Yeah.
Everybody left California to go to Florida. Everyone. My whole building is from New York and Los Angeles right now. I'm in Fort Lauderdale. So I think that's a gift. I don't get his appeal. I think he's very programmed, and I think he's
you
a
don't
beta.
Get Newsom's appeal?
I don't. I think he's somebody that you're going to stick on a debate stage, and you're going to be very surprised that he can't go off script well. I think he's got a Beto chip.
Never underestimate the power of a spinner. These guys are professional.
He's not going to do well with a DeSantis. I don't know about a Trump. I think Trump would be hysterical. That's the thing. You think about Trump that really appeals to people. He is, you could just get your popcorn, extra butter, sit there, and it's that Hillary stuff. Oh, it was just, I rewatch it now.
Because you'd be in jail. That line is going to go into history books.
He was right. And she should have been in jail, frankly. All right, I have a few questions. We're coming down to, I got to watch my clock. We're coming down to the end, so I have some fun questions for you. Some of them are fun, some of them are a little bit challenging. If you lost, this one I've been dying to ask you, actually. I was going to ask them off camera, but I might as well ask on camera. If you lost all your money tomorrow, all of it, I know you wouldn't because you're, strategic and all that. Let's just say something happened, gone. What do you do?
What reason did I lose it for? That would matter. Because if I lost,
outside circumstance, beyond your control, I want to create not your fault, not a bad business decision.
I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right.
Would you start? Would you have the will to start again?
Hell yeah, I love this game. You kidding me? I'd be all right.
With no money?
I would be all right. I know this game. I love this game.
So that's a great message because a lot of people who lost their businesses during the lockdown felt defeated by that. And they felt like, how do I start all over again?
There's a reason
What's
for
your
it.
message
But
to
there's
them?
a reason for it. There's a reason for it because if you stop doing what got you there and you're away from doing it for 4 or 5 years, you forgot. And it's scary. I'll give you an idea. One time, one of my guy that was teaching me sales, his name is John, great salesperson, was a former lawyer. One time, he had been away from sitting with clients for like 4 or 5 years, okay? And he has an appointment. Now, you got to realize this guy's killing it. He makes $1 million a year. It's not like he's a regular guy, right? So he has appointments at night to sit with a client. He's nervous. All day he's nervous. And he goes and sits with the client. He totally messes it up. And he comes back. I said, how'd it go? He says, man, I was so nervous. I missed the worst appointment I've. I said, why? He says, man, I feel like I forgot how to do it.
Wow.
I've been away so much from it that I'm so nervous. See, when I heard him say that, I'm like, wow, what a lesson for me. Yeah. Because as an operator, the moment you stop operating, you lose confidence in your ability to come back up if you lose everything. So you start leading through conforming. You start leading through being afraid of losing people. And everyone smells it. The moment people feel that you fear losing them, you're no longer leading them. They're leading you. The moment people, let me say that one more time, the moment people start feeling that you're fearing losing them, you're no longer leading them, they're leading you. So the way to fight that is to stay engaged, to keep playing the game, to stay nimble, to stay hungry, to read the books, to read the commentary, read the new content, get the content to be improving yourself, recreating yourself. If you don't, all of a sudden you're going to be like, man, I was good for those 5 years or those 10 years. But man, Sunday night, last night, Greg Dinkins over at the house, me and Mario were talking till God knows what time last night because we're working on the book. And we talked about Elon Musk. Okay, he's doing this interview in 2012. I'm going to say it's March of 2012. He's sitting with 60 Minutes host, and the guy's asking him questions, and he starts crying. Elon Musk starts, I don't know if you've seen this or not. No. He gets emotional. How do you feel about the fact that these people are saying what you're doing with SpaceX, it's not this, and these are your heroes, Neil Armstrong, this person, and he starts crying. He says, it really hurts me because many of these men are my heroes, right? At the time, Elon Musk was worth $2 billion. At the time, people still didn't give him credibility, saying he's just selling an overpriced car. He's always late on his delivery. He wants to go to space. What the hell does this guy know about going to space? You have no clue what you're talking about, this Elon. You guys are in love with a guy that's going to lose everything. He's a nobody. This is 2012, 10 years ago. 10 years later, he goes from $2 billion to the richest man in the world. Yep. Okay, $300 billion. Forget about the Saudi people. $300 billion in America, right? $2 billion to $300 billion. What's the moral of the story? Here's the moral of the story. When he sold PayPal sold for $1.5 billion. His net was 180. Do you know what he did with that 180? Do you know the story or no? Out of the 180, he put money in 3 different companies. And I'll give you the companies, and I want you to tell me which one you think he put the most money in. Solar City was one. Tesla's another one. SpaceX is another one. Out of the 180, which of those 3 companies do you think he put the most money in? That's what I thought as well. But he put $100 million in SpaceX.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. He put 70 in Tesla and 10 million in Solar City.
Wow.
I think his brother-in-law's running Solar City, or brother-in-law's running Solar City, but he put 100 million in SpaceX. Most people don't know this. He put less in Tesla than SpaceX.
That's interesting.
Why
Very
did he?
interesting.
Because growing up, his obsession was when he read that book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy or something like that, he's been wanting to go to space since he was a kid. When you do what you do because it's the love of the game, you can't stop.
Right.
Musk is playing a game. He's not in business. People don't realize this. Musk is not running companies. Musk is running a game. He's playing a game. For me, this is like, every day I get to go into a toy store and play a game. I love it. And sometimes you lose. When you play Mario Brothers, you lose. You know, guy shows up, Bowser shows up, you lose sometimes. You got to start the game all over again. And it sucks. It's painful. But if you love the game, you're going to be like, screw it. New game.
That's a gift. That is a gift. I'm telling you. And you know, we have the conversations where some days I'm like, oh, you know, this is the first time that I'm, you know, we're in partnership, but this is the first time that I'm doing my own thing. I'm not under the umbrella of a network, and there's a lot of autonomy and there's a lot of decision making, and man, it can be stressful. It's just not for everybody.
It's not.
You know?
No, it's not.
It's not for everybody.
But your upside is your upside is up. Told you this. Your upside is unlimited. From the moment you and I talked, and then you left, I said, I like her a lot. We got to fix her. We got on the phone and we talked, and we're like, well, let's see. And then Jeremy and all this stuff. No, you know, there's certain people you see, and it's got to be free. You got to want to do it, right? Because the player's going to want to do it, and you want to do it. Now the audience is starting to like, it's a whole different thing that's going. Every time I'm turning on a clip, 2.2 million, 1.5 million, I'm like, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
But the love of the game to me is the same reason why I'm not going to force my kids to do what their daddy does.
Right.
My interest is, what is your love of the game?
Right.
That's what I'm looking for the kids.
Yeah. And I love talking to the camera and saying my piece. You know, the first like one of the, I love it. I do. I love it, and I love talking dating and relationships, all that stuff. Right. I have a few quick ones for you because people need to know these. These are the questions that keep me up at night, audience. I don't know what you listen to music on. What do you listen to music on? Spotify, whatever. I don't know.
Apple,
iPod. What, okay. If someone got a hold of your playlist, who would they see a lot of, and who would they be surprised was on there?
So who would you see a lot of? Okay. So I'm a big R&B guy.
Okay.
Big. So for example, Shy, back in the days, Comforter, If I Ever Fall in Love. I'm a big Sade. I love Sade. Oh, diehard Sade. Cherish the Day, Ordinary Love. You know, you can go R&B with me to Uncle Sam. Most people have no clue who Uncle Sam is. Aaron Hall. You know, if you go to Jodeci, if you go to, I'm all R&B. Hip hop, I'll go Tupac, Biggie, RBL Posse. No one knows who RBL Posse is, or, you know. Anyways, some of my music playlist, that's it. But right now I'm listening to Dean Lewis, who's got 2 songs that we've been listening to all weekend long. One of the songs he wrote about his father, whose mother called him, telling him that dad's got cancer, he's about to die. He writes this song for his dad, and he plays the song for his dad while he has cancer for the first time. I'm going to show you this afterwards. It's so emotional that this is all the kids want to listen to. Dean Lewis, he's got another song there as well. So right now we probably listen to that this weekend 200 times, maybe on replay.
Wow. Is there one people would be surprised?
Italian, I listen to a lot of Italian music. I listen to Eros Ramazzotti. I listen to a lot of Eros Ramazzotti. I listen to Adriano Celentano. I listen to, Persian music,
that surprises me,
Armenian
actually,
music,
a lot of Italian music.
A lot of Italian music. Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Do you speak Italian?
No, but I'm 18% Italian.
Are you?
I'm 18, according to Ancestry.
This is why we get along.
According to Ancestry,
you
I'm 18%
were drawn to the crazy
Italian.
I knew it. You'll love my parents. And my mom's food. Just saying. Okay.
When is she coming, by the way? Is anytime
She's
soon?
coming.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
you're going to meet her. Don't worry. If you think I'm crazy, by the way, just hold up.
I can't wait to meet him.
Just wait. I'm from Staten Island. Mama's from Brooklyn. So it just...
Well, Staten Island, a lot of mobsters came from. So
I know.
A lot of old friends I have from.
There you go. Probably my friends too. All right. Movie you have seen enough times to have the dialogue memorized.
Cocktails.
Really?
With Tom Cruise. Yeah, Cocktails. Man on Fire.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Man on Fire, Cocktails, Gladiator, Dirty Dancing, Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Is there a movie people would be surprised that you like?
Is there a movie people? Oh, listen. I mean, I hope no one's listening when I say this. Okay, I can watch Notebook.
I knew. I was waiting.
God knows how. Just please keep it between. Cut this part out. Don't show this to anybody.
Okay, so we're gonna want to just put this part up in the front.
Oh my
with
goodness.
Big bold letters.
Yeah, my dad and I have watched Notebook. God knows how many times.
My dad. You know what's so funny too, because you and my dad, very similar energy, and he loves that movie too.
Yeah,
he loves it.
My dad's a big Natalie Wood person, so we would watch her stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But Notebook is a great story. Very good story.
You know what was very sexy about that guy? And I told my husband when I met him, I said, you know, I don't need you to be all these. What I do need you to be able to do, you got to be able to build me a house one day. That's it. You know me. I love those guys that can build.
She sees it.
Yes. Too much.
Take that away from her, and she passes out.
I know, in that scene. What do you want? Oh, man. Don't make me start acting. That's a whole other thing. All right. Favorite meal, top to bottom. I have to have appetizer, entree, and dessert.
So I like burrata cheese salad with extra glaze on the side.
Oh, he came prepared for this one.
I like foie gras. So if I can have foie gras like in between the main course and salad. And then main course, it depends. If we're going to Casa D'Angelo, bison. If I'm doing sushi, I like sea urchin. I like salmon belly torched, nigiri style. I'll have a good bone-in ribeye. I'll do crab legs.
Crab legs are delicious.
Yeah, they're delicious. Ooh. And then dessert. These guys, I don't know why they do this to me. The cinnamon ice cream they have with the apple pie that we eat at this Italian restaurant.
You warm that apple pie up.
It's unbelievable. And I don't want to eat dessert, but every time I go there, Angelo gets me. Every time. And I say, today I'm not going to have it. So that's my meal.
All right. Top 3 qualities that you look for when you hire someone.
You keep your word. You're competitive, you like to compete, and you're able to communicate people and get along with people. So your method of communicating with people, generally people like being around you because you know how to deliver message to them, communicate with
important.
them.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. This is the last question. First of all, will you be buying a DeLorean for JB Live set? No pressure.
Do you want one?
Dude.
Are you being serious?
First of all, people don't know that you're working on some stuff in this building.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you've shared, but Pat's got some pretty cool stuff going on in this building. And there's already... Have
you seen it? It's pretty sick out there.
I'm not going to say what's out there, but it looks crazy. Looks like kind of like a movie set. A DeLorean would be really cool. I'm just saying, people like the DeLorean. I think it's at Universal, though. I'm not sure. But a DeLorean, everywhere I go that's cool. I went to Mercury out in Texas. Nobody has a DeLorean. And I've said on the show, I would like to hop in a DeLorean and go back to a certain year if I could. So I think
so you want the real one that goes
Dude,
back
listen,
to the future. What year would you go to?
Somebody told me you were an entrepreneur. You're going to give me a DeLorean that doesn't work? It's got to be able to take me back.
I got to get you. I dressed as Doc Holliday and I did the whole role in front of... Are you kidding me? Like we had an event where I brought a DeLorean out and I acted as Doc Holliday in front of 1,000 people. Yeah, on stage. I'll show you the video afterwards. We have the picture. People can probably find a picture of me as Doc.
So then that's the second part of the question. Say we got one. Say somehow, I don't know, you call Elon Musk, we make it work.
What year?
What year? You have to go back at the age you are right now, though. You're going to go back for 2 days. Then you're going to come back to your life. So you don't have to worry about, I'm not going to have my kids. You're going to go back for 2 days, live those 2 days, and come back.
2 days?
2 days.
Shit. I mean, can I meet someone that I want to meet when I go there? Like, can I go? Because I don't want to just go if I can't meet the person that I want to go meet.
All right, let's make it that you can.
Then it would be, whatever is, either I'm going to go biblical times where he's around 31, 32 to go meet and speak with him, or I'm going to go to 1977, 1978 with this age and have a sit down with the Shah to say, why the hell are you so comfortable with this Khomeini guy? Why are you not more paranoid? What are we doing here? But it'd probably be one of those 2 meetings. Crazy, right?
You got Jesus and the Shah, and I was just looking to do some 90s dance in the club.
No,
I kept it very simple. I was like, I don't need to talk to anybody.
Get questions answered here.
That's the difference between you and I. That's why you're running the company, and I'm just a partner. He wants to talk to Jesus. I just want to dance it up in the club. Well, you have been an absolute joy to talk to. I know the audience is going to eat this up. You're fascinating to me because you're very multidimensional. And, the first job I ever had out of grad school was at an insurance company. And I hated it. I was terrible. I didn't know anything about insurance.
Yeah.
I don't know why they hired me, but everyone in the New York business community that I met was very one-dimensional. I didn't meet people who were like you. You're kind of a fascinating person to have gotten to know, which is why I came out here. So I want to thank you for gracing this show with your wisdom. And maybe, audience, just maybe, I might get some advice, some business advice offset that can help me make some money, which puts a smile on my face, which then puts a smile on your face. So there you go. Thank you, Patrick Bet-David.
Well, thank you for having me on
here today.
It's great to be with you, and we're very happy to have you here as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go shake up your show at some point soon, too. So
yes,
people should watch
looking
out for
forward
that.
to it.
All right, everyone. Thanks for being with us. Bye.